Well, let's file this report under the driving while black myth, or if you want, we could file it under black privilege myth. The story is the Chicago police were accused of racism because they pulled over a black driver who coincidentally happened to be United States Representative Bobby Rush and was also a former Black Panther member. So Rush says they pulled me over because I'm black, and police said, no, we pulled you over because you had the wrong license plate on your car. Scroll down and take a look. First of all, Bobby Rush says there was no rhyme or reason for them to stop me, which makes me wonder where did that phrase "rhyme or reason" come from? I know what reason means, but what's a rhyme got to do with it? I don't know. What's that got to do with this story? Nothing. The officers stopped Rush. We're reading up here. The officers stopped Rush, who is black, in his Lexus RX after learning from a police dispatcher that its license plate was registered to a different vehicle. So he took the license plate off one vehicle, put it on the wrong vehicle, or somebody did. That's why they pulled him over. But if you're a black person, you can always scream racism. That's because you're a member of the protected class. There are two classes of people. For explanation, there is the bourgeois or bourgeoisie, that's white people, and then there's the proletariat, that's everybody else. There's the oppressing class, white people, and there's the oppressed class, everybody else. So if you are a member of the everybody else class, which cultural Marxists call people of color, if you're a member of that class, you can always scream racism anytime, every time, all the time. But if you're a member of the bourgeois or white people or oppressing class, you can never do that. White people are racist always, and non-white people or people of color cannot be racist. According to cultural Marxists, because they're the proletariat, they're the oppressed, obviously they can't be racist. So anywho, he complained because he was pulled over because he was black. Police said, no, we pulled you over because you had the wrong license plate on your vehicle, you moron. Only they didn't say you moron. All right. Now, here's something that we need to acknowledge is that black people are more likely to be pulled over than white people. The statistic that I saw is if you're a black driver, there's like a 13% chance you're going to be pulled over by the cops in any given year. Whereas if you're a white driver, you're going to be pulled over you have about a 10% chance of being pulled over. So black people have a greater chance of being pulled over than white people. Culture Marxists don't stop and think. They just react. They say, oh, yeah, that's obviously racism. If blacks are pulled over more frequently than white, the only plausible explanation has got to be racism. Let's ignore the fact that that cameras at intersections that take pictures of people who run red lights reveal that blacks run red lights at a much higher rate than white people. Let's don't even consider the black people may be worse drivers than white people. That they may commit more violations per capita than white people. Let's just ignore all that and let's just say it's got to be racism. It's kind of like the prison population. Blacks are disproportionately represented in the prison population relative to whites. Well, we're not going to consider that blacks commit more crime than whites because that would not be politically correct. We have to say it's due to racism. Everything has to be due to racism. Everything else is obscure. Just don't even think of it. Okay, let's take a look at this chart. This is, where did I find this? Well, I'll put a link to it in the description below so you can take a look at it in context. But this is motor vehicle traffic fatalities by region, state, and race and ethnicity. And it goes through and it lists every state and every region. And what we find is that blacks, relative to their percentage of the population, tend to commit traffic violations that result in, well, maybe not violations, but traffic fatalities. They're more likely to be killed in a traffic accident than white people, put it in those terms, based upon percentage of the race. Okay, so for example, we can see that in 2006 there were 4,511 black people killed in traffic accidents. That represents 11% of all traffic accidents. white people, there were 24,816 white people killed in traffic accidents, and that's 58% of all traffic fatalities. So obviously white people are more likely to be killed in a traffic accident than black people, but then again there's a lot more white people than there are black people, so that would explain that. However, what about relative to the population? Okay, glad you asked. Let's go over to Wikipedia, which as you know is highly reliable. Okay, by ethnic groups, 73.1% of the population is white, and 12.7% of the population, or almost 13%, is black. So, based upon the numbers that we had, 58% of traffic fatalities are white people, whereas the population is 73%. Black people, 11% of traffic fatalities are black, whereas the black population is 12.7%. So black people, based upon relative to their percentage of the population, are much more likely to be killed in traffic accidents than white people. Why? Well, my conclusion is because they're black. No, my conclusion is because they drive funny. So once again, here are the statistics. So what is the story behind the story? You know, I like to make it clear that I don't just tell news stories. Anybody can do that, but we look at what's behind the story. Why are they doing this? What's going on here? What can we take away from this? What we take away from this is black people in America have been taught to be obsessed with race. Everything has to be about race. Everything, all the time. When you wake up in the morning, the first thing you think is, oh no, I'm still black. And all day long, because you've been brainwashed by the media, by the educational system, you have to think of everything that happens to you is because you're black and because white people are racist. That's what you think all day long. So if the cops pull you over, never mind that one of them was Hispanic. If the cops pull you over because you got the wrong license plate on your vehicle, you moron. No, they didn't say moron, I said that. But because you've got the wrong license plate on your vehicle, you moron, it's because you're black. It can never be because you got the wrong license plate on your vehicle. It can't be because you're speeding and you cause more traffic accidents. It can't be because you're more likely to be driving while intoxicated. Which, by the way, American Indians take the cake on that one by a long shot. Okay, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to share this on social media. Remember that every time a black person cries racism and accuses you of being a white racist, they're probably lying. That's the way they've been trained. That's the way we've been taught. We're supposed to feel guilty about being white. They're supposed to feel oppressed about being black. That's Marxism. It's just simple cultural Marxism. It's the proletariat being oppressed by the bourgeois, white people, the bourgeois. Everybody else, called the people of color by cultural Marxists, are the proletariat, and we need to get that fixed in our mind. They just don't use those terms, but sorry, I exposed them. So, give us a thumbs up, share this on social media. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. What we do here is defend Western culture. We expose nonsense like this. When some idiot says, oh, it's because I'm black, we point out, no, it's because you violated the law. It's got nothing to do with race. Now, other conservative websites, not all of them, but most of them, are terrified to talk about these things because they say, oh, if I talk about this, I will be called a racist. So they try to be coy about it and strategically correct, and they say, well, we're going to avoid that. Why bring this upon us needlessly? We just won't talk about race. Well, here's the problem with that. And again, most conservatives won't talk about race because they don't want to put up with the harassment of being called a racist, even though they're not. The problem with that is this. When honest people don't speak up, then the only people speaking are the liars. But we're not going to speak up because if we do, they call us a racist. So we sit here in silence. Don't say anything. I think that's wrong. I think we should speak up. If they call you names, pejoratives, hate speech, call you racist, white supremacist, all those other Nazis, all the other crap they call you, just keep telling the truth. Don't let them bully you. Don't let them define who you are. We've got to tell the truth. I wish all conservatives and libertarians would come to grips with that reality that we have been intimidated and bullied into silence just because we're afraid of being called a name.
How to subscribe. Click subscribe. Click the bell. Check the box. Save.